Matthew, everyday audiophile, music lover, beer enthusiast. Obviously, not going to have a beer right now while I'm driving. The subject of today's video, though, is a follow-up on my Christmas get-together with the audio group that I'm in, the Guest System series. If you recall in that video, I talked about his secondary system, which at the time was the PS Audio Ep.4s, I believe, with the Macintosh tube monoblocks and the tubed preamp. That was a wonderful system. I really enjoyed it. It did have some shortcomings related to bass output and the low sensitivity, just those tube amps, they couldn't drive it. But if you recall, I mentioned his primary system. He still has the Rockport speakers, that hasn't changed. He still has the wonderful Boulder stereo amp, the 2060, I believe. That hasn't changed. The same audio research preamp and phono stage and VPI Avenger, that hasn't changed. But he's been refining his digital side. He has the MSB Cascade, I believe, whatever the second from the top is. And then he's also picked it up with the digital director, which by itself is, I think, 20 grand. It's insane, but is supposedly already elevated from what I thought was in a tremendous digital system. It just, the music flowed so naturally out of the render into the MSB DACs. So getting an upgrade there by itself is going to be huge. And he also, according to internal sources, has a tape deck. Just purchased, just received on Thursday. So of course, I have to bring some tapes, even though I don't have a tape deck myself yet. And we are going to listen to it and see how that sounds, and I will let you all know. All right, I got to get driving. Future me here. So I'm going to be adding my commentary in just a moment, but I want you to know that it's a tremendous system. I enjoyed it so much that I forgot to record as much as I would have liked. But without further ado, let's get back to his system. So I want to show you something really cool about this room. First, here's the cool looking Rockport speakers. Look, I'm a fan of wood, but yeah, these speakers look nice. And that Boulder 2160 looks the part as well. I'm going to zoom out here. Do you see something missing from here? If your guess was a preamp or a source, then yeah, you'd be correct. If we look right here, we're going to zoom in right here. You can see an IR receiver, and all of the XLR cables actually run through the wall. So let's go ahead and check out that's the rest of the system. Here we go. In all of its glory, we can see the VPI Avenger on the top right, the audio research, Phono Ref 3, the preamp Ref 3, I believe, the render N20, and then if we get here down in the center, we have the MSB Premier with the digital director. This right here is the power supply. The Nordos Cubase, this is the reference. Q-core for grounding, and then our tape deck. This is the Studer 810. We just finished listening to a selection of tapes. I have to say, the Muddy Waters here is my favorite. I did not get to listen to Oscar Peterson, but we're actually going to do a comparison later with the lacquer and the tape. That should be an interesting comparison. But yeah, here's the system. It is so glorious to behold. And if you look here in the corner, there's that hole that the XLR cables are coming through. Okay, so let's talk thoughts. What did this system sound like? Obviously, there is great pedigree in this system. The components from the Rockport Aviors to the Boulder 2160, the audio research preamp phono, the MSB Premier with digital director. Everything from source all the way to speaker, including the cables. It's pretty much a full loom of Nordos Valhalla with a few AudioQuest cables sprinkled in there. Everything about this system screams quality. And if you look at the video of the room and the rack, you can tell he's also spent a lot of time treating the room, treating it properly. Having talked with James about it, he contracted a company, I forget the name, but they had him take measurements, not just the height, length, and the dimensions of the room itself, but also measuring frequency sweeps in different spots of the room so that they can properly model the room in their software and provide the right treatment to to help bring that system to be just as good as it can be. And it truly shows. I can't find the picture anymore, but I remember listening to the system the first time before he had finished the room treatment, and without that room treatment, especially what he had on the side, it made the room feel 5 feet narrower. It was amazing what the proper treatment did, because you get uneven reflection of the highs and proper absorption of the mids and low mids. It truly, he's done a lot of work on the system, and it shows. But how did it sound? I have a few notes here. I've recently been on an acoustic kick as far as music, so I played a few acoustic tracks, and then we went to some more standard hi-fi-esque tracks so I could get a sense of, the sound staging and frequency response and such. But these are the type of songs that I fell in love with when I first got into music. What I listen for in these tracks isn't necessarily the sound staging, because let's be honest, there isn't a whole lot in the three of them. I'm just listening for how they make me feel. Do they evoke the same emotions that I get from my system? Do they evoke different emotions? The MSB Premier DAC gives his system such three-dimensionality that it's hard to believe that I'm listening to the same track compared to my system here. And what I mean by that is, if we take Bad Liar, there is some depth in the bass where you can hear it and it rolls off into the distance. And I don't get that in my system. I get that roll off, but it sounds like the bass is still there. It doesn't sound like it's moving away. And it's something that took me a little bit of time to come to terms with as I was listening to a system, is that all of the details that I'm hearing, I already hear in my system. But the MSB Premiere is just cleaning it up. It's making it just more listenable. And that's kind of going to be the theme of today's video, this review of James's system. It is a system that perfectly, in my opinion, balances technicality. If you want to sit there and listen to something very technical, it's going to give you the raw truth. It's going to tell you a good recording from a bad recording. But at the same time, it makes all music listenable. And that's really simple to explain. Sometimes you listen to a system and it's so far on the technical side that you can't just sit back and relax and enjoy what you're listening to. I view ATC sometimes in this space, or PMC, the companies that build the professional studio monitors. They do that with great purpose, right? Those speakers are meant to reveal all of the flaws in the music or all of the strengths in the music. But at the same time, they don't necessarily convey emotion. This isn't so with James's system. That MSB Premiere, and I'm going to keep on going back to it, is, I think, the reason his system is threading that needle so finely. When we went and put on a more technical track, I could hear exactly where someone was playing the piano. I could tell what direction they were facing. All of that was perfectly clear. But at the same time, I could close my eyes and just fall in love with the music and get goosebumps, which I did a few times. If I had any one complaint about the system, and I'm going to be honest, I've already talked to James about this. It's that with this move up into the MSB Premiere, and he noticed this as well, even though the bass is incredibly detailed and has just this texture about it that is hard to get away from, he actually lost a little bit of bass output. It's like it's rolled off in the low end, so to speak. It doesn't go as low as I remember it going. And it's not like he needs a sub. These Rockport speakers go plenty low. But that would be my only complaint. There were some tracks that I'll play here that I can feel the bass in my chest if the music calls for it. And I don't get that as much with James's system on the digital side. It's something that he knows about, but for everything else that the system does so well, I personally think this is something that is okay to live with, right? I'm there for the sound staging. I'm there for getting the goosebumps on my arms. And his system did that with every single track that I listened to. I had to turn around within 10 seconds and tell him what I was hearing because he was sitting right behind me. And yeah, it is tremendous. So, with the digital side out of the way, we moved on to tape. Did you have to have someone show you how to do this, or did you watch a YouTube video?
YouTube video. And I love it that they have the white on there. And so typically this tape is probably about 30-some minutes anyway.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was wondering how you get in there, so you pop that up.
Mm-hmm. There.
And then how does it go on the other side? I've always wondered that as well.
Just do there like that. That's it. And just turn.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah. And just here.
It's a learning experience. All right, man, I'm ready for this. Oh, go for it. Oh.
Oops. Just hit this again.
I could just watch this, though. That's the thing.
There we go.
As I alluded to in last week's video, we listened to Muddy Waters' Folk Singer. This is something that I am familiar with. I have the vinyl of it. I've listened to it on digital. And the vinyl is one of the best sounding albums that I have in my collection, just because it is so lifelike. You can see him right here. You can hear him just singing into the microphone, the sharpness in his voice. That didn't compare to tape. I'll just say that right now. That Studer 810, it brings out the full capabilities of that system. And it's a little bit depressing that something that is $8,000 can outperform a very well-regarded digital system. But it's the first time that I have listened to something where I understood what layering meant front to back. And I brought this up in the lacquer review last week. You can hear a bass drum here. You can hear the guitar, and you're not just hearing the sound reverberate to the left and right or up and down, but also front and back. And if you close your eyes, you can see that ball of energy where that sound is radiating from. But yes, tape was amazing, and I can see why it's making a comeback despite the high price point on a per album basis. That is really the only downside, is that you are paying an insane amount of money, honestly, for each album. Anywhere from $400 to $2,000, depending on the number of tapes that are in that album. But that's a topic for another video. The last thing that I want to talk about with this wonderful system is I brought my Audio S5B to his system. And I did this because I wanted a bit of reference. I've had this DAC or the ancestors of this DAC for 7 years now, and I know it very well. I know what it sounds like. I love the music that comes out of it. And so I couldn't miss the opportunity at comparing the Audio S5B against the MSB Premier. And that was interesting. It was really, really eye-opening. And first, James, thank you for letting me do that again. It means a lot, and it really gave me a lot of insight into the qualities of your system, right? I don't have any of the same components, so being able to bring something that I'm used to, that I know the sound of, into your system and have its difference in rendering for music laid bare in front of me, it made me appreciate your system even more than I do right now. But with that, that is my review of James's system. It's one that's been on the books for a long time, and honestly, I can't wait to go back and listen to more tape. He is just starting that collection. He only has 3 tapes so far, but a few more on order. But even without that tape deck, it is a world-class system that makes it incredibly easy to appreciate the finer things in music, but also just sit back, relax, have a drink, and enjoy what you're listening to. And really, that's what we're all here for. So again, James, thank you for letting me listen to it. And until then, I will see y'all next time.